These are some Dinar Guru updates, starting off with Paulette. Says, I am very encouraged that if they can get their parallel market rate within 2%, ending the MCP they currently have, everything we are hoping for will begin to move quickly. Based on Aki's reports, it appears all is ready behind the scenes. Militiaman says the whole thing is basically doing what? Restoring confidence, engaging the private sector. Iraq's going to be going international. What we expect is to see that Iraq has an IMF Article 8 compliant currency that has a real effective exchange rate, or a REER, that supports the value of the currency and does restore that confidence. Is 1310 exchange rate going to restore confidence? In my belief, absolutely not. Frank 26 says, for any Iraqi that lives outside of Iraq, they will take advantage and exchange their 30 notes for American dollars. Monetary reform is getting louder and louder every day and very direct. There is no confusion. There's no need to wonder when it's going to happen because they're telling you it's happening. In my opinion, the lower denoms, new exchange rate, and the float in the basket is the next phase of your monetary reform. Prime Minister Sudani is bragging about it right now. All right, Claire article, quote, Parliamentary Finance Committee, a surplus of more than 10 trillion in the 2023 budget. Another quote, the total revenues of the Iraqi state as of November 23 amounted to more than 121 trillion dinars, while expenditures amounted to more than 110 trillion dinars, which means there is a surplus of more than 10 trillion dinars, according to the Iraqi Ministry of Finance. Mark Z via PDK says Iraq is again discussing the change in dinar value openly. This makes more than 4 articles, etc., in the last week. They are expecting a major change in the valuation of their currency soon. Also, still talking about pegging to a basket of Middle Eastern currencies in order to compete with the US dollar. Also in the news, there seems to be big happenings in the Iraqi currency auctions, bringing in much more dinar. They are making all the moves we expect to see just before a revaluation. They are telling us it's coming. It's very clear how close we are. Pimpy says, I never said it's not going to happen. It absolutely will, but it's going to go up in increments, in my opinion. Is Iraq doing what they need to do to get back on track? They are. What are the biggest hurdles? They need to do something about corruption. Unless these things change, we're going to have a hard time getting to where we're trying to change the exchange rate. Guru Fnu Lu, in order for Iraq to do business with other nations under the current regimen, SWIFT, they must use the Nostro Vostro accounts. Nostro comes from the Latin word for ours, as in our money that is on deposit at your bank. Vostro comes from the Latin word for yours, as in your money that is on deposit at our bank. These are to be placed on deposit with a designated bank in each and every nation for cross-border payments. How much Iraq has on deposit in other countries depends on how many countries with whom they intend to do business. As we have recently seen, there are quite a few nations with whom they have deposited dinar in their banks, and the nations that will export to Iraq have money in the CBI. Nostro Vostro accounts have no bearing on the international exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar. Frank 26 says the monetary reform, in my opinion, is at a stage right now where it is educating the citizens on the next step. Based on what we're seeing, what do you think is the next step the Central Bank of Iraq, Sudani, and the Board of Directors are going to activate, push the button of the monetary reform? New small category notes, I agree. The float, I agree. LDs and rate, I agree. Revalue, I agree. HCL, I don't agree. Not yet, although everything will be poured out of the bucket the moment the new exchange rate occurs, and that's the HCL too. Sandy says China has decided to take up interest in Iraq and Turkey's development road project. This is exciting and excellent news because China in the picture means Iraq is on the path to success with this entire project. We as investors are looking for the development road project to increase the GDP of Iraq and provide another high stream of annual income per the IMF's recommendation. All of this posts to a higher value in the Iraqi currency. All right, Militiaman article quote, the ports discuss the operational plan for the years 23-24. Al-Sudani told us this is the year of amazing achievements. Finishing the port of Faf 100% this year will be flat out amazing. Having it 100% operational is going to bring massive revenue stream into the country for decades and decades to come. Pimpy says there's a lot of good news out there for Iraq, but you can't keep reporting the good news and saying that's the reason why it's going to be reinstated at $3.22. There's no way they can carry out all these projects because they can't afford to. That's a lie. They've already calculated it in their budget, the necessary money needed to do these projects. They did it at the current rate. Pimpy says don't fall for that crap. Frank says it is happening. I told you December was for everything to be put into place. The CBI and Sudani made sure everything for monetary reform was in position. Dear God, look at it. Since January has come about, look at the articles.